Welcome back to PropTalk listeners. We've got a very special episode for you today, Keeping It in the Family, the Precision Propeller Legacy. I'm your host, Mike Jones, president of the National Marine Propeller Association and owner of Coastal Propeller Service in Bridge City, Texas. Today, I'm joined by the newest NMPA board member, Mr. Colton Watson, who's also the co-owner of Precision Propeller Company in Spokane, Washington. Colton, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be here and have a chance to share our story.
Well, it's good to see you, and let's get started all the way from the beginning. Tell us about the history of Precision Propeller Company and how it all began.
Sure, happy to. So Precision Propeller was founded in 1962 by my grandfather, Darrell Prouty, and he started out in a dirt floor shop. And what gave him the idea for the business, he was an avid fisherman at the time. We have a lot of small lakes and rivers around here, and he saw firsthand the carnage that came out of it. And, way back then in 1962, he was repairing old Mercury outboard two-blade bronze and aluminum props for $9. And replacements were $18. So yeah, people thought he was nuts. But, entrepreneurs are kind of funny that way. And the funny part about the whole thing is, flashing forward, I never saw my grandpa fish.
Really?
Yeah, nope. He was all in on the business. I mean, I had to hear it from Dad that he was an avid fisherman. I would have never known. And, working with him, that passion passed down to my dad and then to me. And it was a real honor to be able to work with him for 15 years of my life before he passed away. But
yeah,
I started working in the shop when I was 10. So Darren was dragging me to work when I was just a youngster. And, I started learning how to pitch aluminum props at 12. I had a natural interest in it. I wasn't forced or anything like that. Really thought my TIG welding skills were on point back then.
At 12 years old, huh?
Yeah, looking back on it now, I was pretty high on myself. They were not good. But, I got to grow up in the shop. And,
sure.
Here we are 20 years later, co-owner in the business. Dad's looking, knocking on retirement's door. And, today I, still continue the same commitment to quality, service, and excellence in propeller repair.
That's really special. A lot of people, they can't really envision working with your grandfather and your father in the same type of industry.
Oh, no. I mean, a lot of people say second generation is where the percentages are really low, fizzles out.
Exactly.
And, pretty cool legacy for sure.
Well, it's good that y'all all share the same commonality, the work ethic, and, the dedication to customer service. I love it, Colton. I love it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Can you share a fun or memorable story from maybe your early days in the shop? Something that captures what it's like to grow up in the propeller repair industry.
Sure. Well, like I said, I was pretty young when I started. I'm going to go back to Grandpa just because I have so many memories, growing up under a guy like that. He was born in 29, part of the greatest generation. And, I got a lot of different stories. I remember when I was about 11 years old, using a Pesco press. This is back when we were still rehubbing aluminum propellers. We don't do that anymore, but we use air over hydraulic and had it all centered up and going in and had my foot pressed down on that pedal, and I just kept going. it blew right through the backside on a Mercury, just a standard Mercury IO, and Grandpa was pretty upset with me at the time, but told me expensive lessons have to be learned sometimes. And really the biggest thing that sticks with me is you just don't realize things at the time. He was hard on me. And I remember one time bringing in was really into motorcycles back then. This is probably when I'm 14, 15 years old. And, I was working in the summers, 30, 40 hours a week. And I had a little crack in my exhaust. And I needed to weld it up, fix it. And, so it's lunchtime and I bring it back into the shop. And he notices what I'm doing and he comes back and he's like, "Are you punched out?" I'm like, "Well, no." He's like, "Well, why not? You're on my time. You're on company time. Who's going to pay for this argon?" And I'm like, "Gosh, what is with you? You're a totally different person, when you're grandpa. And when we're here, it's, and as a kid, you just don't understand it." And, but leading up to the years, before, he passed away, he told me that I'm hard on you for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You're going to be here. You're going to be here and you're going to do great things. And I think that's what sticks with me the most. And it continues to, it's one of the things, there's many things that continue to drive me in this industry for sure.
Well, that's great. A lot has to be said about, our parents, especially father figures being kind of tough on us. It kind of shapes us into the people that we are. And
Yeah.
we don't appreciate it at the time, but we can look back and be thankful that they did.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I tell my kids, you got to spend more time with your grandparents. They have great grandparents that are alive. It's
Yeah.
important. It is.
Sure.
Learn
Most
something.
definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Well, let's get back to talking about Precision Propeller Company. What are the primary services and products that you offer there at the shop?
So we mostly focus on outboard stern drive stuff. We are inland. We don't see anything really too much over 22 inches in diameter. I cut it off at about 20 inches in diameter. Uh, you know, Lots and lots and lots of ski wheels. A lot like Stu Foster up in Canada. I'm averaging, 60 a week. And most of what we're seeing now from Acme and OJ are 17, 18-inch diameter wheels.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, so doing a lot of that. We stock Solus propellers, and we also are the manufacturer for the Proper Thing prop wrench, which we actually sell to Mercury Marine, and they rebrand them as a Mercury product.
Okay. Yep.
We've been doing that for about 15 years now.
I've, I've purchased several of those myself.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Thank you.
They do come in handy, folks. So
They do,
pay attention.
especially the Bravo 3 wrench.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Also do a lot of pontoon boat repairs. We've got a ton of pontoon boats around here. Cracks from age, impacts, things like that. I've seen that's become a big part of the business. I see a lot of it. So do the weld repairs. If we don't know exactly where it's leaking from, I will pressure test those at 2 psi and
Right.
and do a leak down test on them, find the leak, repair it, repressure test, make sure everything's watertight.
Well, that's great. It's good to see that not only do you do propellers, but you're branching out into aluminum fabrication and specialty welding stuff like that. That's really great to diversify like that, Colton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
Well,
have
let me
this.
ask. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you have the skills in your toolbox, if you've got the time to use them for sure. Outside.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, um, you're a new board member of the NMPA, but what do you think is the biggest benefit of being just a regular NMPA member?
Well, over the years, I mean, the networking and the level of expertise is just absolutely priceless. It's just packed with decades of experience. Uh,
Mhm.
it's just there for you to tap into. You got to be involved. And every convention I've attended, I picked up at least one thing. At
That's
least one thing. You're never too old to learn something new. And I mean, even small tweaks, workflow changes, fixtures that guys are using. All those things help us become more efficient and profitable. And like I said before, the more involved you are, the the more you're going to get out of it, and the stronger the membership will be too.
Oh, well, that's good. Good to hear. Have you implemented any new machines or technology or maybe procedures at your shop recently?
Yeah, we've nothing crazy big. I mean, the industry, we've definitely seen it change a lot over the last 5 years. Outboards are becoming just more and more common. But we refined air over hydraulic fixtures. Of course, kept up. We're still using pitch blocks. We don't scan anything here. So having all those on hand, all the correct stuff to do these repairs right.
Right.
Honestly, one of the bigger shifts that we've seen is how we approach aluminum propellers, especially Mercury flow torque stuff, anything with a removable hub, Solus Rubex. Honestly, what we have to charge for them, it doesn't make a lot of sense every time to go ahead and repair that prop, even if it is
Sure.
repairable. We'll give them the price to repair it to NMPA standard, and we'll give them the cost of a new one, and 90% of the time the customer is going to choose that new one.
Right.
And the cool thing about it is I'm sure you can attest to this, is a lot of these outboard stern drive applications, they're propped incorrectly in the first place. They're usually overpitched in my area, so it gives us a chance to talk with them, see how they're using the boat, what kind of wide open throttle RPMs they're turning, and we're still providing that service. We're still outfitting people with the correct propeller, and we get a lot of positive feedback for that.
Right.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that in our area too. That they're in a rush to sell the boat, and sometimes the dealer will put a propeller on there. We've got poor performance. The customer comes in, and
Sure.
you spend time, you educate him, you prop it with the correct propeller, even though it's a different pitch, and they're like, they come back in a few days or a few weeks and say, "My God, my boat's never run like this before." Well, it's just a matter of putting the correct propeller on there. So
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. We see guys that, they don't know anything until they have something new to compare it to. They
sure.
thought that's the way the boat was. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So what about anything else? Any type of tool organization or, anything that little traits that you might have picked up from grandpa about putting those tools back in place?
So, if anybody knows me a little bit, I was kind of born that way. I am, borderline, what do they call that? Obsessive compulsive.
Right.
Everything's got a place in my shop. And it may irritate people sometimes, but there's nothing worse than me or, the employees that we have here walking around looking for something and wasting time that should be there. We've got dedicated skag repair carts with full electric power strips, all the tools you need. You roll that entire cart all the way out to that. If it's on the boat, everything's there. You're
Yeah.
not getting up and walking around. Kind of took some things that Stu was doing up at his shop. Built a pneumatic air vise as a
Mhm.
work hold for doing ski props using
Right.
Pesco arbors. Locks them into place. We can get in, to the blade overlap and everything, and get every single area and put it in whatever position we want. And again, everything's right there. Workbench is set up with power as well. But yeah, things like that. Huge proponent of that for sure.
Yeah. It's when you're doing propeller repair, efficiency means a lot, as far as not wasting time and having things where you can get to the damaged areas uh, easily, and being able to weld, repair, grind, whatever you got to do, polish. That's really interesting. Yep. Let me ask you a question, Colton. Now that you've grown up in the business, so to speak, how do you see the current business climate?
Well, right now, I mean, we're seeing so many new outboard engines, 400, 450 Mercs, more boats with those applications.
Hmm.
And as far as business climate goes, 2020 to 2023, we saw a huge surge in new boaters, um, first time boat owners, and which led to a pretty big increase in repairs, new sales. 2024, things kind of came back down to earth a little bit.
Right.
Uh, and I think that's the repair side stays strong. I mean, we're all in such a niche industry. You can't just go down the road and find another propeller shop typically. Not an NMPA certified shop, that's for sure. Um, but, we're in our 63rd year this year. And for me, the key to survival is never compromising on quality. And again, I'm going to quote Stu Foster here. And when I first heard this, I wrote it all over my whiteboards in my shop. And it's, charge what you're worth, be worth what you charge.
Yeah, that's true. That's quite
Yep,
true.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You, I keep thinking of you as a young person in this industry, but you've been around for a long time, I mean, from your granddad to Darren, uh,
Yeah,
Darren Prouty, has been a longtime member of the NMPA with his dad.
yeah,
Uh, he sat on the board for many, many years. We appreciate all of his service and everything. And it's kind of interesting that you've kind of stair stepped down now, grandpa to
right.
dad, and you've taken traits from both of the generations, so to speak. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty interesting. And so I'm going to ask you this question. Um, and you're not, even though you're young in age, you're not young in experience, okay? As far as propellers, what do you think has changed the most in the last 5 years compared to what you were doing, before?
You know, costs, overhead costs is a big one. I mean, welding wire abrasives, all of that has gone up. But so is milk, right? So in the grocery store. But and then, like I've said before, outboard engines, they just continue to innovate. There's just so many more of them out there, and you know, having all of the correct tooling on hand to be able to do these things to the standard that the NMPA demands is essential. And it just seems like everything continues to innovate.
Right.
Uh, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. It is cool. It's cool to keep up with, though.
Yeah.
I like rolling with the change for sure. Learning something, like I said, there's always something to learn for sure.
Right. And customers kind of drive us that way too because they expect more or they demand more. And
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes that
absolutely.
keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, there's a lot of boaters my age, and they're different than dealing with some of the older crowd. They want things faster and cheaper,
Yeah.
faster and cheaper. And we're a huge proponent of carrying a spare propeller, and I get the question all the time: what's your lead time? Can you fix it? In 2 days? No, lead times are 6 to 8 business days right now. And what I'll tell them is, hey, just put your spare on. And they go, well, I don't have a spare. And say, well, I've got one right here. You leave your prop with us, and this will never happen to you again. You'll never miss a weekend in the
That's
summer.
right. That's
Yep,
right.
yep.
And you got a spare tire in your car, you need a spare prop in your boat.
There
That's
you
for sure.
go. There you go.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question, Colton. Looking ahead, what's your forecast? Where do you see the marine industry headed in 5 years?
Well, like we talked about the innovation before, it's just going to continue to drive things. Every year, it seems like manufacturers come out with new technology. There's a new surf boat out there, new gear reductions, which means new propellers, to match all of that. And we got to stay on top of it. Economically, I'm optimistic. I think that people will have more money and time to enjoy boating. I'm a realistic optimist. Challenges will come, but sticking to our values and staying adaptable to all these things that are changing, uh,
Right.
we will keep we will continue to serve the boating community for many years to come here at Precision Propeller.
Yeah. Well, Colton, we're going to wrap this up, but I just want to say thank you for sharing your story, sharing your expertise. Uh, Thank you for putting up with Daryl and Darren. And no,
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Daryl was a great guy. We miss him dearly, and like I said, we can't thank Darren enough for all the service and all the time that he put in, not only as a as a propeller repairman there at Precision Propeller, but also the time that he put on the board of directors. So
Absolutely.
and I look forward to the third generation. I look forward to you uh just picking up the torch and carrying on, if you know what I mean, right,
I,
Colton?
I do. I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you.
Well, we thank you very much. This has been a great show. It's been great having you on and getting a little closer in-depth look at Precision Propeller Company. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Have a good season, brother.
Yeah, you too, man.
Okay. And to all our listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have. Uh, if you're ever in Spokane, swing by and say hi to Colton. And you might not want to forget to check out those proper thing prop wrenches. They really come in handy, and your customers will be very pleased. Until next time, keep those props turning, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Prop Talk.